Well, a very warm welcome to another vlog, and this time around it's all about taking creative images of garden birds. Now, seeing the garden birds come and go on the feeders that I've placed here gives me a great deal of pleasure throughout the winter. Indeed, feeding birds has been part of human history. In Egypt, there were people employed to feed birds. Birds featured predominantly in Egyptian religion. The peregrine falcon and Horus, the mummification of birds such as the sacred ibis. And in Victorian times, the bird table, as we know it, with the little roof, was invented in about 1850. Actually, the little tube feeders that we have nowadays, this one filled with peanuts, wasn't invented until 1969. Well, the feeding of birds has grown into a multi-billion-dollar industry. In the US alone, $4 billion is spent on bird feeders and bird food every year. And there's a symbiotic relationship between humans and birds. The birds get the food and we get that great enjoyment of watching these beautiful creatures come and go. Well, in a previous vlog, I had photographed the birds directly on the pear tree behind me. And I noticed that the highlights and the shadows were too strong and overpowered the bird itself. So this time around, I've placed my hide on the patio, which is sunken down below the grass, and angled the camera up. There's about a 10-yard gap between where the hide is and the twigs that I've attached to railway sleeper uprights here. And the intention here then is to present the pear tree full of lichens on those branches as a textured bokeh background. And it's working really well for me. So the placement of the twigs has been an iterative process. And I've spent an hour or two here and there once a week moving twigs around and spending an hour in the hide over the last month or so. And I think now I'm happiest with the alignment of branches with regards to the backdrop that we see, the pear tree below. And as the light rises here in the morning, it catches the lichen-covered branches of the pear tree, and it creates a very distinctive backdrop as compared to a midday on an overcast day, or as the sun moves around the sky and backlights that pear tree. It's surprising the number of species that visit the bird feeders. From the titmice, blue tits, coal tits, great tits, long-tailed tits, all regular, to the greater spotted woodpecker. This morning I photographed a dunnock, the hedge sparrow, on this branch here. And dunnocks don't tend to come to bird feeders at all, and may have been feeding on insects on the actual branches themselves. In addition to that, we have the magpies and the rooks. And rooks are beautiful birds to photograph, particularly on the grass. I was lucky enough to have bullfinches, again, not visiting the feeders, but picking on sycamore seedlings that had fallen in the autumn last. So the range of species is always surprising, with siskins coming in late in winter. We obviously have our chaffinches, the most common bird in Ireland, the robin. and various other species that come and go. Greenfinches, which suffered a major depopulation 2 or 3 years ago. I've seen a number of them coming back this year. Here's Bobby Bassett. Hey Bobs. Now, predominantly being used in a 400mm 2.8 lens and leaving the aperture at 2.8 to create as smooth a bokeh as possible. And although shooting in DX mode, the space that I've given to the background and to the twig has reduced the bird in the frame, as I usually do, to just a small feature. But placing it on either third tends to bring the eye to the bird directly. To create the types of images that I had envisioned takes time. But the time is in the planning, it's in the setup, ensuring that each twig is as perfectly placed as it can be. So sometimes I'll hammer a twig in and see how that works, and then I'll come back and I might raise it up a little bit or replace it with another twig. So for instance, you'll see the twig here is actually from a garden plant. It's a false raspberry, which is in bloom at this time of the year in February. And I've captured a number of birds sitting on the branches here. So each twig placed on the railway sleepers provides a unique composition. And as the light moves from early morning catching the pear tree behind me through to afternoon light when it backlights the pear tree, provides totally different light, and the textures of the background change accordingly. Some of the twigs, the higher up ones, will have a little bit of sky in them and will be predominantly the texture of the pear tree out of focus, that bokeh. Some of the lower ones will have a more green hue to the background. So each twig in itself is very unique and provides a very different image, and therefore providing variety in the number of images that I'm taking. So let's have a look at some of the video that I've taken from the hide of the birds landing on the twigs here over the past few weeks. And I'll follow that up with some of my favourite images that I've captured. It's springtime now. Snowdrops are actually finished blooming. and the daffodils are out. It's mid-February. There's so much happening in the natural world over the next few weeks. We've got great crested grebes will be courting at this time of the year. The red grouse will almost be finished courting. And then there will be an acceleration of activity into late spring and early summer. And I know how the next few weeks will move very quickly. So picking the next subject for a vlog and for a set of photographs is something that I'm considering at the moment. So I hope you've enjoyed this very short vlog, and I hope you join me next time when I'll be returning to Glencoe in February, and hopefully those peaks will have a little bit of snow on them.